friendship that'll never ever end.
Run!
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Reaction Beanie Yo 669. Tighten that neighborhood. My brothers and sisters, we're about to start this weekend off with a banger, Bean Team. Because we get to go back to who? Ryan from Tragedy Tales. Another Tragedy Tales Friday, y'all. And the title of the video is Brutal Blast. 5 clips before horror number 17. Sound like we in for another what the is going on type of video, Bean Team. And I'm ready to get into it. But before we get into it, y'all know what y'all got to do. Get whatever you might need. Get what you need, please. We back to Ryan from Tragedy Tales. Y'all got what y'all need. Y'all ready to go? Then let's go.
From mobile phones to CCTV, every day millions of videos are recorded. Most capture the ordinary, but you know how these videos start. Just sometimes, someone will hit that record button and capture something far more unsettling. They'll capture a clip right before horror. My name's Ryan from Tragedy Tales, and welcome back to the channel. In this video, we're diving back into the darker end of the internet to showcase 5 more clips captured moments before horror. From a family parasailing trip that went horrifically wrong, to the man who took out his frustrations in the worst way possible. As you're all accustomed to on this channel, this week we've got clips that are guaranteed to shock you to your core. So you guys know the drill, strap in and draw the curtains, and let's get right into it.
Oh! Get whatever you may need. And I just got to point out, and I don't know if I have in the past, but I want to say it again. And Ryan, I know you listening, man. I just love the way that you at the beginning of his videos, y'all, you know what I'm saying? He always show clips of things that he have already told us about or showed us in his previous videos. You know what I'm saying? He showed those clips again and it bring back the memories. Like, oh man, I remember that. I remember that. I remember that. And it will never cease to freaking shock and amaze you even when you see it again, my friends. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. Number 5.
The Florida Keys, located in Monroe County, Florida, is a tropical chain of islands often seen as paradise for families. Nestled between the Gulf Coast of Mexico and the Atlantic Ocean, these islands are connected by the iconic Overseas Highway, offering breathtaking views of the turquoise water and vibrant coral reefs below. The islands are a place where families come to snorkel, kayak, and parasail. They flock here in their numbers to create unforgettable memories together. But if you're familiar with this channel, you'll know that paradise can also be perilous. Fun can turn to tragedy in an instant, and sadly, this entry is yet another example. It begins in the middle of the Florida Keys, specifically in the city of Marathon, near Pigeon Key Island, on Monday, May the 30th, 2022. On this beautiful summer day, 33-year-old Suparaja Alapathi from Illinois was enjoying her holiday in the Florida Keys with 10 to 12 other members of her family. Eager to make the most out of their holiday, they decided to try something completely out of the ordinary. They decided to push the boat out and book a parasailing trip. They searched online and booked the trip with what they thought to be a reputable place. They booked the trip for the whole family, and with the price seeming reasonable, the excitement was palpable as they prepared to go out into the water. The parasailing company, called Lighthouse Parasail, arranged the outing, and that day the entire family lined up across the waterfront, eager to head out into the skies. At around 5:30 p.m, which to be fair is quite late to do any parasailing, Subaraja, along with her husband Sarini, as well as their 10-year-old son and their 7-year-old nephew, climbed aboard a boat and headed out into the water. As they did, the weather that was initially calm soon began to deteriorate. Winds picked up and dark clouds now loomed above. Despite this, it all seemed manageable as the boat powered out into the open water. This weather wasn't going to stop them parasailing.
Man, that weather should have stopped them parasailing. You know what I'm saying? That should have been the warning sign right there. Nope, let's turn this boat back around and go back to shore. Seriously, man. It's like so many of these videos that we watch from Ryan, y'all. It always comes, well, not always, but a lot of the times it come back to weather being bad and people still doing things that they shouldn't be doing in this type of weather. Let's go.
Once they got to the spot, Subaraja as well as the 2 children slipped into their harnesses, while the husband, Sarini, decided to stay on the boat to watch and record some footage. All on video, they can be seen laughing and joking, enjoying the fresh sea breeze. None of them could have predicted what was about to unfold. All captured on video, you can see as the boat picked up speed and the trio gracefully rose up into the air. They were flying, but not for long. Soon after they set off, as I said, the weather shifted dramatically. The temperature dropped sharply by 10 degrees Celsius and winds escalated from gentle breezes to powerful, unpredictable blasts. The boat began veering far off course as the approaching storm on the horizon grew nearer and nearer by the second. The parasail that was soaring above the boat was now completely out of control. All 3 of them were being whipped back and forth like ragdolls, completely at the mercy of the erratic wind. Now, this storm had been forecast, and it even had warnings in place, but Captain Daniel Couch, who had organised the trip and took them out on the boat, only focused on the money. All he could think about is taking these 10 people into the air, how much money he would make from it, and so he ignored the warning signs.
Wow.
As the group were violently swept about by the wind, the captain tried to regain control by accelerating. But by now, it was far too late. The parasail, instead of being towed, was now dragging the boat wherever it saw fit. The wind, relentless and unpredictable, was now completely in control. Sarini, the husband, could do nothing but watch in horror as the 3 of them were pulled higher and higher into the sky. They were heading right towards land. At this point, Captain Couch was now panicking. Within just minutes, they'd been dragged very close to shore, and with no way to regain control, fearing a collision with the land, he made a rash decision. In a split second, he pulled out a knife and cut the tow line, leaving Subaraja, her son, and nephew to fall into the water below. Still,
You motherfucker! I can't hold it no more, y'all. You son of a bitch. Are you serious, man? Really? You the reason that these people are even in this predicament. You at fault for this. And now you got the audacity to cut the fucking rope? Are you kidding me? See, man, that just, here we go again, y'all. I'm already getting mad at this one, man. See, here we go again, though, big team. I gotta say it once again. Humans can be some of the greatest things on earth, but they can be some of the most scumbaggish, too. And I'm not even saying that if he didn't cut the rope that he could have did anything to help or save them. But if I was in his position, I would be to the point at this point where it's like, F it. If I gotta die, if I gotta crash my boat into this freaking land, regardless of what happened to them, I'd rather do that than freaking cut this rope and seal their fate, which more than likely would be them dying. We don't know yet. I hope they didn't die, but what he just did pretty much almost wrote they freaking death wish. You know what I'm saying, man? But I would rather die than freaking be alive knowing that I pretty much was the reason, even though he was the reason a long time ago, but cutting the rope, matter of fact, at this point, goddamn, charge him with murder, manslaughter, something, 2nd degree, 3rd degree, 100 degree, something, being team. Seriously, that is so cowardly of him to cut that fucking rope. Are you serious?
all tethered to the inflated parasail. What followed was terrifying. The wind dragged the parasail across the cold, choppy waters at breakneck speed. Helpless, they were tossed in and out of the water, unable to stop themselves as they were pulled towards the infamous 7 Mile Bridge. Desperately, on the boat, Serini clung to Daniel's legs and begged him to go and save his family, pleading with him, saying, "Go after them, please." And Daniel's response was just, "Don't worry, the bridge will help." As the parasailers were dragged helplessly across the water, the rest of the family watched on shore in total terror. They could only watch as their family members were carried further and further out of sight. Just a horrible scene. By now, nearby boaters had noticed what had happened and raced to help them. But they were being dragged across the water just far too fast. No one could catch up with them before they violently collided with the 7 Mile Bridge. The impact was severe, leaving Subaraja as well as one of the children unconscious in the water. Now that's when John Callion, a nearby fishing boat captain, arrived at the scene. He pulled the victims from the water and began desperately performing CPR on Subaraja, who remained unconscious. Paramedics arrived swiftly, but sadly there was nothing that could be done, and she was pronounced dead at the scene, all while still being attached to the 2 children. While these 2 children survived with serious injuries, they were left with deep emotional scars from the harrowing experience. They nearly died as well. What could have been a thrilling family adventure turned into a nightmare within just minutes, a tragedy that could have been avoided with better safety protocols, careful planning, and most of all, a reasonable response from the captain when the weather turned dangerous. He made zero effort to try and catch them once he'd cut the rope. Instead, he just watched as they drifted along the water towards the bridge. What makes it worse is that he told the husband that the bridge would help, so he already saw what was about to happen before it did. In September, months after the incident, he was arrested on charges of manslaughter and multiple boating violations. He should have never gone out into the water that day. Daniel pleaded not guilty, and as of now, his trial has been delayed, awaiting further legal proceedings. While he awaits his trial, the Alapathi family filed a lawsuit against Daniel Couch, as well as the parasailing company and the marina. The lawsuit claims that the company, as well as the marina, failed to check weather reports, which should have prevented the trip. They also pointed to the lack of safety equipment, such as life jackets, as well as the captain's failure to manage the parasail when the weather worsened. The lawsuit argues that several chances to prevent this tragedy were totally missed. Now, if safety is fully considered, parasailing accidents are very, very rare. However, as you've seen on this channel before, just due to the nature of the activity, when something does go wrong, it's often fatal. This tragedy, which caused the death of one and caused serious injuries to 2 children, serves as a brutal reminder of checking safety when you're doing high-risk activities, no matter where you are in the world. Double and triple check that they've got all the licenses in order, because this could happen to any one of us. There's so many companies that will just ignore risks for the sake of profit, and the consequences can be devastating. Daniel knew the risks that he was taking, but he did it just because he wanted some money, a decision that I'm sure he will regret.
Man, I got heated at that one, Bean Team. I'm still mad at that dude. And I'm glad that he got at least charged with manslaughter. His case still ongoing, his trial or whatever. But I hope he do serve some time, like some long time in freaking prison for that, man. And rest in peace to the beautiful young woman who died. But thank God, by the grace of God, the 2 kids all survived, because that what he did by cutting that rope was a freaking just death sentence. Even though I know I probably ain't making a lot of sense, because you can say even though if he didn't cut the rope and he would have slammed into the shore as far as the boat, you know what I'm saying, what that would mean for them flying in the air. Would they just be stopped and then just end up falling down to the ground? I don't know, Bean Team. All I know is, and I know y'all could agree with me, what he did was cowardly as elf by doing that. You was the cause of all of this. And then just the fact in the disgusting part of you didn't give a F about none of these people. See, that's the thing. We already knew he didn't give a F about them anyway, because of the fact that he knew the weather was bad, didn't care about none of that. It was all about the goddamn money from the very beginning. And he really showed you it was about that money when he cut that rope. I digress. Let's go. Number 4.
This frankly ridiculous entry begins on the 9th of August 2024 in the beautiful country of Argentina, Rosario. On that fateful summer's day in Rosario, life buzzed with the energy of workers and locals, blissfully unaware of the chaos that was soon to unfold. On the morning of August the 9th, a 46-year-old man named Juan Manuel Medina finally snapped. In the previous months, just due to budget cuts, Juan had been laid off from his job at the Air Liquid Facilities factory in Rosario. This factory supplies tanks of oxygen, nitrogen, and hydrogen for industry use, and while the layoff wasn't personal, Juan definitely took it personally. On the morning of August the 9th, Juan went to the local Rosario Aero Club and rented a Cessna 150 aircraft that was primarily used for flight training and personal use. As Juan was an active pilot and a respected and active member of the Aero Club, nobody suspected anything out of the ordinary as he did the preliminary checks on the runway. However, before renting the plane, Juan had made 2 cryptic posts on the work WhatsApp group, the first being the Nagasaki mushroom cloud, a very famous World War II photo, followed by a selfie with the caption in Spanish that read, "To the big liars." At 11:30, Juan took off from the Aero Club and began soaring into the sky. But not for long. Around noon, witnesses said that they saw the plane flying very strangely and circling the area of his former workplace.
Is this dude about to crash into his job, his workplace?
And then this terrifying footage was captured. A worker at the factory captured this video in the warehouse grounds. You can see that they're stood in the outhouse of the warehouse, and in the air you can see the 2-seater Cessna barreling towards the Air Liquid Facility factory. Within just a blink of an eye, the plane dropped out of the sky and impacted with the building, slamming right into a concrete column with an almighty bang. After crashing into the building, the plane came to a stop and no explosion occurred. Amazingly, Juan had narrowly avoided the highly flammable and explosive containers littered around. Now it was clear what Juan was trying to do here. He was trying to cause a chain reaction that would bring down the entire factory, killing anyone who was inside or nearby. Fire engines rushed to the scene, and Juan was dead in the cockpit, but amazingly no one else had been injured in this whole ordeal. They put out the small fires that he'd caused and prevented any further damage. The footage shocked the locals and even reached international news. The police believe all the signs pointed towards this being intentional. While Juan had his pilot's license, he had no permission to fly it over the city where he was. He said nothing to the Aero Club that day. One man's thirst for revenge almost cost many more people their lives, but thankfully he was unsuccessful. But it's tragic that it even got this far in the first place.
Like, seriously, that's one of the ones, y'all, that you can kind of compare to or equate to, like somebody just walking up in a random grocery store or a school for that, to make it even worse, a freaking school, and just randomly killing people and then end up killing themselves, a mass shooting, then the freaking shooter end up committing the S word, y'all know what I'm talking about, to themselves. That's one of those ones, but this was one of those ones where it was a positive to it. Now, he ended up dying, and at that point, I just got to keep it real with y'all, Bean Team. I really don't feel sorry for him dying because he was trying to kill a lot of people. Long story short, story long, but his plan freaking failed. But if you just look at that clip, you can see all those gas canisters around and stuff, whatever the freak that ish called. Y'all know what I'm talking about, man. If he would have actually hit one of those, it would have been boom, 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 boom. Like, it would have been terrible, the chain reaction he could have set off. And then even think about this part, y'all. That's why God was good with this one. Even the fact that, okay, yes, he missed the freaking gas canisters and all that ish right there, but he did still crash into a part of the building, right? But just thank God that nobody was even right there in the vicinity of where he crashed. You know what I'm saying? God just had everybody in that building back that day, and his back is broken forever. Long story short, story long, man. I really don't feel bad for that guy because he literally was trying to commit a mass murder, a mass S-word murder. Let's go. Number 3. Number 3.
This next clip was recorded in the northern Netherlands in the city of Enschede on Saturday, May the 13th, 2000. That weekend, it was completely normal for the residents of Enschede. The weather was nice, the streets were calm, it was a quiet weekend atmosphere. But that was all about to change. In the Roombeek neighbourhood of Enschede, densely surrounded by homes where families lived, sat a large fireworks factory and storage facility known as SE Fireworks. Now I know what you're all thinking, having a fireworks factory so close to homes seems reckless, and that's because it was. This factory, built in 1977, produced and stored fireworks for decades. They would never build a fireworks factory so close nowadays, but when the factory was first constructed, it was actually on the outskirts of town and not surrounded by any homes whatsoever. However, as Enschede grew, residential neighbourhoods like Roombeek were developed increasingly close to the factory, creating a deadly recipe for disaster. By the year 2000, approximately 1,500 to 2,000 people lived within close proximity to the factory, with some homes being as close to 50 to 100 metres away. On the afternoon of May the 13th, at approximately 3 p.m, a small fire erupted within the packing materials section of the factory. Emergency responders were quickly notified and rushed to the scene to tackle the blaze, but before they could even respond, the fire had already spread to nearby parts of the factory, also containing fireworks, sending them violently ricocheting, further spreading the blaze.
Boy, that's a crazy image to see, y'all. Crazy video clip to see, man. Like unintentional fireworks just pew, 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 all over the freaking sky. But I just got to say this right now, man. It's obvious that regardless of if this firework place was established here or built here before y'all start building homes around it, whatever. Long story short, story long, man. After those homes was around it, we got to shut this place down. We got to relocate. We got to go somewhere else. You know what I'm saying, man? I don't know who was supposed to make that decision in this story, but that was just terrible. And now look what happened. A random 4th of July fireworks show that ain't nobody want to be a part of within that goddamn neighborhood. Let's go.
Soon, several teams of firemen began tackling the fire with water hoses as a crowd gathered on the street to witness the spectacle. Despite the fire team's best efforts, the flames spread quickly through the factory's storage facilities, and by 3:15 p.m, explosions could be heard coming from within. Suddenly, at 3:35 p.m, a massive, devastating explosion occurred, one that nobody was expecting. It turns out that the fire had spread throughout the entire factory and even outside. Once it was outside, it spread to 2 full shipping containers that were being used to illegally store fireworks. Inside these containers were a staggering 177 tons of explosive fireworks just waiting to be ignited. As the fire reached these containers, they set fire to the contents inside, triggering a humongous explosion. Now, there was a few explosions before this that had a force equivalent to 0.8 tons of TNT, but the strength of this final explosion was estimated to be around 4 to 5 tons of TNT. Within literally a second, the blast ripped apart the factory, incinerated nearby cars, and flattened many homes and buildings within a 400-meter radius.
Look at this picture, Bean Team. Oh my God, man. And the numbers that Ryan was saying, 177 tons of it was up in this storage room or storage shed, whatever. Like, dude, oh my goodness. Look at the radius that explosion affected.
Yes. Instantly, 18 people were killed, including 4 firefighters that were tackling the blaze. The blast was so powerful that it rattled and shook buildings as far as 40 miles away and left 946 people injured to varying extents. Hundreds of people were scorched in the explosion, but many also sustained broken bones, internal injuries, as well as gashes and laceration wounds from flying debris. The shockwave of the blast was so powerful that it caused temporary and permanent hearing loss for some victims, and even left a gaping crater in the ground. After the dust had settled, people realized it was a complete catastrophe. First responders were overwhelmed by the scale of the destruction. The sheer scale of the damage was hard to comprehend. Residents who survived the explosion were left in shock, but despite this, some who had witnessed the disaster firsthand risked their own lives to assist in rescue efforts, digging through the rubble with their bare hands to help those injured. By now, the situation was far out of control. Fire crews struggled to tackle the fire, and so additional fire teams were called in across the border in Germany to help extinguish it. By the time it had been put out, an astronomical amount of damage had been caused. The blast essentially wiped out much of the Ruhnbeek neighborhood and displaced hundreds of families. In total, almost 400 homes were destroyed, and another 1,500 were damaged and needed repairs. It resulted in $507 million worth of damage.
Damn.
While 18 were instantly killed in the explosion, by the end of this horrible ordeal, this incident stole the lives of 23 innocent individuals, making this one of the deadliest fireworks-related accidents in history. The fire and the explosion left a palpable sense of loss. An entire neighborhood had been reduced to ash. But for many, it wasn't just about the property or material things, it was about the families that had been shattered, families that will never ever recover from this. Questions arose as to why this factory was allowed to continue to run, despite being so close to residential homes. After officials investigated, they said that the factory was licensed to store around 175 tons of fireworks. This amount of fireworks was just sitting in the containers, let alone what was being produced and stored inside. While a true amount was never disclosed as to how much they were actually storing on site, it was clear that they had more than they were supposed to. To make things worse, they were also storing larger fireworks than they were allowed to do so. They lied on the import documentation, stating that these fireworks were smaller than they actually were, to save on shipping. This is why the entire neighborhood wasn't evacuated, as firefighters believed that they were tackling a fire at a factory with much smaller explosives.
And see, that's just crazy too, man. At this point, somebody, whoever was working there, like the president of the place, the owner, the manager, somebody should have told the firefighters that, hey man, we got a lot more up in here than we was leading y'all on to believe. Like seriously, have everybody get evacuated. Because that was another crazy thing within this one, y'all. It's the fact that a lot of people was coming out on the streets and watching this whole ish go down because they didn't think that explosion was gonna happen. Because I'm pretty sure if they did, they would have got the F up out of there. But I'm just saying, man, like somebody should have said something like, dude, to the firefighters and the EMS, the emergency services, man, the police, the paramedics, all that. Like, no, we need to evacuate all these people from off this street and get them as far as freaking away from this place as possible, because we was hiding a little secret. We got a lot more fireworks in this thing than we told y'all about, man. Let's go.
Even to this day, the exact cause of the fire remains unknown, though arson is still a strong suspect. Some believe it could have been one of the owners, as it was known that they would sometimes demonstrate small fireworks inside, but this was never proven. Shortly after the explosion, the two managers of the company handed themselves in over to the police and were eventually sentenced to 12 months in prison. A total of €8.5 million was issued in compensation, but none of this seems very just, considering the damage and deaths caused. Since the explosion, the Ruhnbeek area has been rebuilt, Dutch fire safety regulations were made stricter, and several illegal fireworks storage facilities were shut down to prevent similar tragedies. This disaster led to greater awareness, as well as tighter regulations on the storage of fireworks, not just in the Netherlands, but all across Europe. The tragedy remains a somber chapter in Enschedé's history. Every year, citizens remember the victims of the disaster, and while the area has been rebuilt, the scars of that day continue to linger. A memorial was constructed in a local area, consisting of a large stone structure, featuring the names of the 23 people who were taken too soon. Flowers are still put up on this memorial 25 years later, a true testament to the horrors that occurred on that fateful May afternoon.
Man, Rest in peace of those 23 people, y'all. And as far as the two manager getting 12 months in prison, basically a year in prison, man, that ain't nothing, man. I don't even care about that part. You know what I'm saying? Like, that ain't nothing but a little, not even a slap on the wrist. That's just a little tap on the wrist. Like, seriously, I don't know, y'all. Like, it go back to the first one that we was watching. Like, should these people be charged with murder or manslaughter for that too? Like, when you look at I can't remember the dude's name, but y'all know the first one we watched, the dude who cut the rope. You know what I'm saying? Should they be charged in a similar way because they knew that they had all this illegal past the limit of how much fireworks you should have? You know what I'm saying? They was doing some shady ish all the way around. Should they be charged for that? I don't know, man. That's a tough one, being team. That is a tough one, man. I feel like that's one of those ones where, like, the city, the government, the state should have got involved and shut them down even without them giving the approval or not. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, no, man, this has became a residential area, and what you operating that got going on, we can't allow that here. I feel like even from the government, they should have just shut that down. The mayor, you know what I'm saying? The governor, like, I don't know, y'all. That's a hard one, man. But like I said, rest in peace, more than anything, to those 23 people who lost their lives. We still got 2 more to go, Bean Team. Let's go. Number 2.
Now, this downright terrible entry unfolded on the 3rd of October 2024 in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, Africa. That day, the sun was shining, the wind was calm. It seemed like the perfect weather for a ferry across Lake Kivu. Lake Kivu is the 6th largest lake in Africa and lies on the border of the Republic of Congo and Rwanda. Now, this lake is very important because roads alongside the lake are overrun by rebel fighters, meaning that locals and workers are forced to take ferries across the lake to get home or to get to where they're going. These boats, or these ferries, are often poorly maintained and highly overloaded. But sadly, there's often just no other choice. On the 3rd of October, a ferry set sail with approximately 278 passengers, travelling from the town of Minova to Goma, a short trip across Lake Kivu. Now, these towns are connected by a road, but as I said, rebel fighters have overrun them, so locals are forced to use the boat. Now, this ferry that set sail that day was only built for 30 passengers. At the time of its voyage, it was carrying almost 10 times that amount. Now, despite this, however, despite the boat being completely overrun with people, the journey seemed to be smooth until they came to dock. Strong waves suddenly began crashing against the overloaded boat, and people inside noticed water begin to flood in. Now, this is when the horrifying footage was captured. It was captured by friends and family on Goma's shore as the ferry came into dock. On video, you can see that this double-decker vessel is extremely overloaded, and all on video, just a few hundred meters from land, the boat began to tilt. In seconds, it got worse and worse. Some people managed to jump out, but seconds later, the entire ship capsized. Now, most of the passengers in these incidents sadly cannot swim. Lake Kivu is deep, and also none of them were wearing life jackets. If you couldn't swim and had nothing to grab onto, sadly, despite being this close to land, this was a death sentence for most. Passengers that were thrown into the water were hit by the turbulent currents and swept away. But for some passengers, the boat became a deadly death trap as many became trapped inside. Total horror unfolded as rescue teams tried to help those in need, but soon bodies began washing up in their dozens. Friends and families that were waiting at the dock were forced to watch in agony, completely helpless to the situation. They were there to greet loved ones, but instead they were forced to sift through the dead pulled from the lake. Those who were injured were taken to the local hospital, but some people, including children, succumbed to their injuries later that day. The police cordoned off the area to identify the dead. The boat was dragged from the water, but many still remain missing. In total, 78 people lost their lives here, several of which were children. Tragically, this is the 3rd time this year that boats have capsized on Lake Kivu, leading to mass casualties. This caused yet more shock and grief to the local communities. I'm sure most of these people wouldn't have taken that boat if they had the choice. The greedy people who owned and were driving these ferries almost certainly knew that they shouldn't have been doing this. They must have known that passengers had no other option. They knew that they were overloading the boats. Sadly, for 78 people, a short journey across the lake cost them their lives.
Now, see, I ain't confused on this one, Bean Team. These people ass need to go to fucking prison for this shit. Like, seriously, long story short, story long, man. Just take this part right here. This part right here let you know that they didn't give a flying F about none of these passengers. Just the fact that these boats was designed to hold up to a capacity of 30 people. And Ryan said that one that just topped over then had literally almost 10 times that amount. That's 300 freaking people, man. Are you freaking me? Like, y'all know that ain't right, and y'all still did it. Then look what ended up happening. Then it's one thing when these people do this ish and don't give a F about, like me, a grown adult. You know what I'm saying? But when you got kids involved, you don't even care about the kids. Damn. Number 1.
For Christians all across the world, Easter Sunday is a celebration of Jesus' resurrection. Families gather to share meals and embrace the promise of new beginnings. But for one family in this entry, one particular Easter took a devastating turn, one that would haunt them for the rest of their lives. It begins on a fateful Easter Sunday of April the 16th, 2017, in Cleveland, Ohio. In the Glenville neighborhood in Cleveland lived the Godwin family. Easter was a holiday that the Godwins looked forward to every year. The eldest of the family was 74-year-old Robert Lee Godwin. Robert was a family man. He had 10 children and 14 grandchildren. His favorite hobbies included basketball and fishing, and before he retired, he worked in a foundry. He was described as a good man, a brilliant father and grandfather. He was someone who would do anything to help someone that was in need, the kind of person that they don't make anymore. That fateful Easter Sunday of 2017, Robert walked from his home in Glenville to one of his son's houses to pick up some basketball equipment for another one of his children. After grabbing this equipment, Robert began walking back home along the 600 block of East 93rd Street. As he walked, he held a plastic bag in one hand and picked up aluminium cans and put them in his bag. He did this to help his neighborhood and then turned them all in for a bit of cash. At around 2 p.m, as Robert was walking down the street, minding his own business, picking up cans, a car pulled up and a man got out of it and walked towards Robert. The man approached the elderly man with his phone in his hand, and as he got close, he asked Robert to say Joy Lane, saying that this is the reason that this is about to happen to you.
Hi, can you do me a favor? Can you say Joy Lane?
Robert said Joy Lane, looking quite confused, and in that second, the man pulled out a pistol and pointed it at Robert. On video, he begged for his life, but the gunman took no notice and pulled the trigger, shooting him point blank in the head. Of course, this gunshot wound was instantaneously fatal. Robert recoiled and fell to the ground. The gunman then hopped back into his car and left him for dead as if he was nothing. Robert lay there on the ground in a pool of his own blood for an hour before his body was discovered by a woman who was driving down the street. Emergency services were rushed to the scene, but declared him dead right there on the pavement. Robert's family were quickly notified by the authorities and were completely distraught to discover what horror had unfolded just around the block from their home. That evening, as they were scrolling on Facebook, they stumbled across a video, and after watching it, they were shocked and totally horrified to discover that it was the murder of their beloved grandfather, posted for all to see by a man named Steve Stevens. He randomly chose Robert. He even said before getting out of the car that it was unfortunate that it was an old guy. It truly breaks my heart. For 3 hours, the gruesome video remained online, showing the slaying of innocent Robert, until it was manually taken down by Facebook moderators. By then, it had been seen by millions across the world. It had been downloaded and shared thousands of times. 37-year-old Steve Stevens The person who did this horrific act and then posted it on Facebook had worked at a behavioral health agency in northeastern Ohio that served children and teenagers. He'd recently filed for bankruptcy, and after posting the initial video, he posted a follow-up video admitting what happened. In this second video, he said that he did the murder because he had just snapped, adding that he had a lot of pent-up frustrations. He blamed gambling debts, as well as a recently broken down relationship with his ex, Joy Lane, amongst other things for the murder. He said that
Man, this is just one of the ones, y'all, where I'm really kind of like at a loss for words. Just how much randomness it was for him to do this to him. Like, I don't even, like, bro, he had no motive. None. Didn't know, I can't remember the old man name, grandpa name. Let me just call him grandpa. Let me call him Pawpaw, man. He didn't even freaking, know Pawpaw name, man. I mean, not even, yeah, I'm right on that. You see how my head all scrambled up with this one? But it's just so random, y'all. Like, he didn't know this man at all. He didn't know Pawpaw at all. This, he did, he mad at the world, frustrated with whatever, with Joy Lane, I guess. That's her in the picture right there or whatever, but you just pull over and kill this man for nothing. Like, what? And then that's such a BS excuse too. Even the excuse he do give, it's still just like, that don't mean nothing to me. Just because you freaking mad about what you got going on with somebody else, so you feel like you should just kill a random person. Like, I just don't know what to do with this one, Bean Team. Like, seriously, I'm more just, like I said, at a loss for words. I don't even know how to feel. Long story short, story long, I don't know how to feel, if I'm feeling mad, sad, pissed off, like shocked. Like, I guess it's a embodiment, and it's just all that is just bottled up into one on this one. Like, what are you doing, bro? Like, why would you just do that? Let's go.
He'd killed more people and that he was hunting for more victims, saying that he wouldn't stop until the police caught him. He was completely loony.
Just a couple of man. I'm at the point where I snap. See, the thing is, man, every time I try to talk to y'all, man, y'all always blow me off or just make my seem like it ain't. I got a lot of built-in anger and frustration, man. And most importantly, I shamed myself. I snapped. I just snapped. I just killed 13 man. That's what I did. I killed 13 people. And I'm about to keep killing until they catch me.
The news, as well as the clip, spread like wildfire, quickly reaching international news. All across the world, people were shocked and heartbroken and disgusted to hear what had occurred to an innocent old man. In an interview, Robert's family said that they were distraught, but they had each been brought up and taught to forgive. In this interview, they said that while their dad had been taken, they forgave the killer and pleaded for him to hand himself in.
It's a hole in my heart right now. But one thing I do want to say is I forgive him. Because we all sinners. And we need the shed blood of Jesus Christ to save us. And I'm so grateful for that. So if you out there, if you listening, turn yourself in. You done enough damage. Just turn yourself in.
That same day, the authorities launched a nationwide manhunt with a $50,000 reward to catch him and bring him to justice. The police questioned his ex, who said that they'd recently broken up and that she had decided not to marry him. She said while the breakup had left him devastated, she couldn't have possibly predicted that he'd do anything like this. It was completely out of character. She was devastated that a murder had been committed in her name.
That was my daddy. And then that man killed my daddy for no reason. Nobody knew that my daddy was gonna die yesterday on Easter.
With the killer on the loose, police teams across the country scrambled to find him, conscious that he was unhinged and may strike again. The nation was gripped as days passed, with little information as to where he had fled to. But this all changed Tuesday morning, on April the 18th, when his mobile phone pinged in Erie, Pennsylvania, around 100 miles northeast of Cleveland, where the murder took place. Soon after this, he was noticed in a McDonald's drive-thru in Erie, ordering chicken nuggets and fries. They noticed him and stored his order, and instead called the police. When his food failed to arrive, Steve realized that something was going on and fled the scene. But by then, the police were already hot on his trail. The police caught up with him and gave chase for a short time before performing a maneuver to take him off the road. Now, this maneuver was successful, but as Steve's car spun out of control, after 48 hours on the run, he pulled out the pistol yet again and turned it on himself. By the time the car had stopped spinning, he was dead. Robert's family wanted to see him go to trial and face justice, to possibly wrap their head around why somebody would do something so horrible to their grandfather. But now, they'll never truly know. Now, the person who took his life away will never truly face justice. A truly terrible outcome for everyone. This was all horrific. Every part of it. Robert was totally innocent. He did absolutely nothing wrong. He was just a sweet old man, walking down the street, picking up cans, helping his community, and he was executed in broad daylight for it. Then, the fact that Steve posted it on Facebook is bloody revolting. He murdered Robert as if he wasn't almost 75 years old and wasn't loved by everyone he knew, like he wasn't even a person at all. Hundreds gathered at the spot where he was murdered. Here they paid their respects to an innocent man, tears were shed, and flowers were placed. So, if you're going to take anything away from this entry, if you take anything away from this channel in fact, it's to remember that life is too short and that life is too fragile. Always remember to hold your loved ones close, frequently tell them that you love them, because none of us are guaranteed tomorrow. Don't take anyone or anything for granted, because everything in life can be snatched away in an instant.
Facts, man. Big facts, y'all. That one now got me so pissed off. Now I tell you the emotion I'm feeling now. I'm pissed the freak off now because the fact that this dude gonna sit up here and murder himself after doing that. He one of those punk ass, pussy ass, scary ass motherfuckers out here, murderers out here. And I was just talking about that a little bit earlier when I was when I was talking about the people who go into the freaking grocery store, or the people who go into the schools and murder people or kids, in fact, at the schools or whatever, they end up turning the gun on themselves before they can face the consequences. And then later on, Ryan just gave us a story about it, man. And it's just like, dude, man, I feel so bad for the freaking family, and I can understand, because I even me, not even being a family member of Roberts, of Paul's, man, I want to just wish that that the dude who did this would have at least had to go to face trial, and we can like get some type of something from this. Like it's just we at this point we still don't even really know why the freak he did it. Yeah, he said all that about Laura Lane and all that. Maybe that's what it all is, man. Maybe it ain't even that deep, Bean Team. I don't know, man. Like I said, that one right there just still, even at this point, even though I'm saying a lot of words, I'm still at a loss for words. So just trying to understand why it happened, trying to get some type of closure to it. It'll never be no closure to that one, dude. Like, how in the freak could you just walk up and kill a 75-year-old man? You know this man is a like elderly senior citizen. And then it, like Ryan was saying at the end when he was speaking on big facts, y'all, like, life is fragile as hell. If for that to happen to him, then that is, any of us could just be walking outside, walking down the sidewalk, or not even just walking in the neighborhood. We could be walking to our car, we literally, Bean Team, could go outside to get into our car in our driveway, and a random person just come up with their phone out on Facebook and be like, say a word, and then end up killing us. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really could go like that for no reason at freaking all, man. Let's finish it up. Bean Team. That one there got me, man. It really got me. Let's finish it up.
But that is the end of the video. May each and every victim featured rest in peace. Wowzers trousers. This one was shockingly sad. All of it. It's not often I start tearing up while trying to voice the video. That last story really made me think of my dearly departed grandparents, and I can't imagine losing them in the way Robert's family lost him. But starting from the top, we've got the parasailing tragedy in Florida. This has to be the 4th or 5th time that I've covered a case where it was directly caused by someone ignoring safety and instead focusing on profit. Honestly, I never thought what would actually happen if the tow rope was cut. Being dragged across the water helplessly to your death with your kids attached to your back is a pure nightmare, one that I didn't even think about, and I hope Daniel, the person who took them out, is sued to hell and back, and is held criminally responsible. Next, we've got the gent who kamikazed his plane into his former workplace. While this was a re-upload that I accidentally cut out of a video, regardless, it was no less shocking than when I first saw it. The fact that nobody else was injured is a true miracle, but I don't think it really needed to get to this stage. And it's tragic that nothing could have been done to avoid this before it occurred. Then we've got the fireworks explosion in the Netherlands. Again, it's one of those entries where it was mainly caused by greed. The company was lowering the size of the fireworks on the shipping documents, meaning that they were cheaper to import. More profit. Because of this, nobody truly knew how large or how many fireworks were inside. Not to mention, storing them in illegal storage crates outside was just asking for an accident to occur. Of course, we can't forget the Congo ferry capsize. This was also a re-upload that I wanted to include because it's an all too often occurrence in Africa, one that is not widely broadcast to the world. So these things just keep occurring and nothing is learnt. This was the third time in 2024 that a boat had collapsed on this lake, causing mass casualties. And the worst part about all of it is that most of them had no choice but to put their lives at risk, and it cost them all dearly. I hope the captains are all held responsible. And finally, the Joy Lane murder. My God. I hate all aspects of this entry. Robert was so innocent, walking down a street in his own neighborhood, picking up cans, and he was murdered for no reason just because a guy felt frustrated. This is all bad enough, but then to record it and post it on Facebook and drag the whole family through the pain of seeing a family member gunned down in broad daylight is just abhorrent. I just wish he'd been man enough to face a trial, because now they have no closure. This whole video was tragic, as they always are, but most importantly, what did you think of this one? As always, I do try and read every comment, so do let me know what you thought. If you're this far through the video and you look down there and you're not subscribed, go ahead and tap that subscribe button now and tickle that notification bell to be alerted when I release content such as this. But just before I go, I want to say a huge, great thank you to all the support, all of the kind comments, and all of you who have watched over 2024. Making videos on the weekly was always a dream to me, and I wouldn't still be here if it wasn't for each and every one of you watching. So remember not to take anything for granted, and enjoy your New Year's. I will see you all in 2025. Bye bye.
Boy, that most definitely was a what the is going on type of video, Bean Team. Like I said from the beginning, man. Oh my God. Like Ryan said, I really do think out of all of them, even though all of them is tragic, don't get me wrong, all of them was tragedy tales for real. But that last one just hit different. I don't know if it was because at the age Robert was and having to have lived that freaking long, and all the people who are here on earth because of him, you know what I'm saying? I think Ryan said he had 10 kids, 15 grandchildren. Like, come on, man. And then for him to end up going out that way is just so freaking crazy. Another part about it that's just terrible is the fact that the dude, I'm stuck on it, Bean Team. I hate this part that he gonna have the audacity or the punkness of himself to actually kill himself before he had to face any charges for it. And then another part too is the fact that he posted this on Facebook for everybody to see, man. It's people who still got that video to this day, y'all. I ain't saying it's still online, but it's more than likely still in somebody's freaking phone from around the world somewhere who still got that ish, man. Rest in peace to Mr. Robert Paw one more time, man. The one before that, Bean Team, is the boat that turned over. Now Ryan did mention, y'all, real quick. Well, I might well go and mention it now. Ryan did mention at the end that some of these videos that he got in this particular video that we just watched, he had in previous videos, but he had to end up cutting out. Now, long story short, story long, Bean Team, before Ryan cut those videos out, I already had did my reaction to it, right? So I already had those videos still in my reaction. See, the reason Ryan cutting those videos out a lot of times because of the demonetization that he get if he got certain content that YouTube don't like. But I'm at the point right now, I don't care about the monetization so I'm gonna put it out regardless. And I'm saying that long story short, story long to say that I think that we have already covered this boat one, but I'm pretty sure. I'm real sure that we watched the one with the airplane that we're gonna talk about in a minute, man. But going back to the boat one, I hope y'all just follow me right there, but I try to explain it the best I can. But back to the boat one, y'all. It's one of the ones where it's like, dude, those people seriously need to be locked up. Like, they need to be charged with murder, man. You mean to tell me this boat don't supposed to hold nothing but 30 people at maximum, and you got 300 people on here? Like, come on, man. And it's terrible because a lot of those people felt like they had to do that to get where they was going to go, because at that point, that was really like their only option for real. So I'm not blaming those people at all. I will just say rest in peace to the ones who lost their lives. The one before that, y'all, crazy, man, with the fireworks, pew, 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 all in the freaking air, man. You got this literal, I'm calling it a nuclear bomb, and it wasn't a nuclear bomb as far as like this firework building or whatever, with all these tons of dynamite, you might as well say. Like, you got something that is just that deadly sitting in the middle of a freaking neighborhood with all these people around. And the thing that got me the most about it, y'all, is when we seen that picture, you can see just the radius within that this freaking explosion affected, man. Freaking crazy, y'all. Freaking crazy on that one too. And I like I said, I don't even know who to really like. I know, like, you can blame, yes, we will blame the owners and stuff like that, but at the same time, I feel like the city, the government, the mayor, the governor, somebody should have did something. The people, man, they should have signed a petition or something, man. I know that ain't the best thing to do, but I'm just saying it should have been some kind of way for them to get that freaking fireworks facility out of the middle of the freaking neighborhood, knowing something like that would happen, especially how the owners and ish was lying and packing way more of a freaking punch than they was leading on to the outside public. The one before that, y'all, and this is the one I was talking about when I was talking about the I feel like I have seen that one before. I felt like I had seen it before, but man, we watched so many of these videos, y'all, just like the boat one, man. So I'm not sure if I seen that one before or not. But we watched so many of these different videos where this same type of ish be happening. And I'm not even just talking about from Ryan channel. I'm talking about from all the channels we watch, whether it be Nick Crowley, Lazy Masquerade. Hey, we started watching Chilling Scares, Dial Trip. The list go on and on and on, man. But I felt like we had seen that one before from some freaking where. And I think Ryan already had uploaded that, but ended up cutting it out. But I already had reacted to it, like I said. But as far as the story go, for real, y'all, it's just one of the ones where it's like, by the grace of God, he tried to take a lot of people out with him. Because, boy, if his plane would have hit those freaking gas canisters, gas cans, whatever, it would have been a chain reaction. And yes, that would have been almost like the fireworks explosion. There would have been a chain reaction that would have claimed a lot of lives, man. And the very first one we watched, y'all, the very freaking first one we watched, this one right here, one thing that I didn't bring up that I just want to say real quick. Can you imagine, and rest in peace to the beautiful lady who lost her life, but can you imagine her being up in the air with her little son and her nephew, and it's slinging them everywhere, and they hollering and screaming and scared for their freaking life? Like, that is just terrible, man. And the dude did it, and his trial still ongoing. And like I said, I'm glad he got charged with manslaughter, but I hope he really do face some time for it, because it's like he ain't care about none of that ish when he cut that rope that was gonna happen to them. All he cared about was trying to get him some freaking money, and that's why he ain't care about the weather or none of that to even begin with. You know what I'm saying? Like, this should have never even, he should have never even be doing this parasailing that day, that particular day. But it was all about the money. He didn't care about whether you was an adult or a child in that situation. But I digress. I'm gonna go and let y'all go, Bean Team. We have been here long enough. I appreciate y'all coming on back as always. And make sure that y'all come on back tomorrow for another live reaction stream on another good Saturday as always. And before you leave, just please hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and do all that if you ain't did that yet. And remember this. Love, peace, and happiness. Stay safe. Don't stop. Keep going. Gail.